From Studio 1A in Tampa, Florida, comes a talk show that really feels your pain and tells you like it is. We love America and all that freedom-loving Americans want to protect. Live from coast to coast and on your radio, it's For the People with Keith Allen.
We'll help you survive this thing called life. We're for the people. Whatever your source of stress or strife, for the people is there.
We made it. Well, at least we think we have. It's Friday. It's March the 24th, 2017, and we have a big show lined up for you, as usual. We have a big show, and we have to declare it, because if we didn't declare that it was going to be a big show, then it would be a doomed show, and then you would have no reason to want to stay with us. But it just sounds that way, and we don't want to say that it's a weak show. Could you imagine saying, well, it's a weak show, stay tuned for a really boring show? I don't know why we say that, but a lot of talk show hosts do that, and I think it's because we have to rev ourselves up, and then it is to keep your attention, because, come on, it's a hard job. Many of us misdiagnosed, suffer from ADD, ADHD, and HD. You say that real fast, right? It's a tongue twizzler for you. But seriously, to keep your attention, it's an art form. A lot of you like listening to the program because a good talk show host, from what I understand, besides the content, which is important, to be able to hold your attention so you don't fall asleep. And at least that's not what we try to do each and every day. Some shows could be a bore depending on the subject matter. But, there's always interesting conversations to go on. Now, I do say we have guests on our program that are exceptional. And we have had some really amazing guests, okay? One coming up next Tuesday, just wanted to put it out there to just make sure that you do not miss at least this upcoming week. Andrew Peak. Andrew Peak is a fellow for Middle Eastern Affairs at the American Foreign Policy Council, and he's currently teaching at American University at Johns Hopkins University. Army intelligence guy is super smart. He's been on the news circuit and all the major networks as a go-to guy. But we're going to talk to him about terrorism, talk to him about the wall, just, a lot of key issues, immigration being one of them. And one of the big pushes today, by the way, is Trump's health care plan. And he's taking a swipe at last minute, and I think rightly so, for the Freedom Caucus, which is a conservative Freedom caucus in the House of Representatives. And so on Twitter, as he endorsed the Republican proposal on health care as a great plan ahead of make or break vote in the House. So they're going to take a vote today. The president posted identical messages on his official and personal Twitter, by the way, from those accounts, that after 7 horrible years of Obamacare, skyrocketing premiums and deductibles, bad health care, this is finally your chance for a great plan. And he said the same thing again on Twitter and everywhere else. But it is true. It is true. But on his personal account, he had issued a follow-up pointing out that the failure to approve, this is the ultimatum here, the American Health Care Act would allow Planned Parenthood to continue. And the irony is that the Freedom Caucus, which is very pro-life and against Planned Parenthood, allows Planned Parenthood to continue if they stop this plan. That was a swipe at the Freedom Caucus. I thought it was a great idea, because if you're so against what they do with taxpayer dollars and operating as they have been, doing abortions, Trump quick to say that they do a lot of good too, screenings and such, and that's great, but their biggest money maker, again, if you're pro-life, you don't want them doing more of those. And maybe not every clinic, I have an open mind you, that not every clinic may madly push for the abortion, but that's the business that they're in, and most of them do push for it. Yes, I'm one of those guys that believes that there's life in the womb and it's not just a stupid fetus. And it's really put a lot of thought into it, honestly, and for religious reasons. I mean, I'm not the most religious guy, but for religious reasons, being that I just believe that where there's life, where there's hope there. There's a life there, and I'm thinking of the millions and millions of babies that have been aborted here in this country alone. Just think about our country, just for a moment. But the thought is going around the world that maybe one of those babies, just think one of those babies, and they were all important. I don't think there would be any mother saying that they were unimportant, but they were made to feel that way because, well, their life was taken from them. They could have cured cancer. They could have been the one that actually cured AIDS once and for all. Think about that for a second, seriously. That's just my thinking on this, and for us to do that, shame on us, and that's what we get. But one of them could have been Nobel Prize winner. Figured a way that nobody would ever have to starve again. We could have been in Mars like 25, 30 years ago. Already colonized. Warp speed, whatever. We could have the Star Trek going for us because we'd have physicists so brilliant that would rival any of them that we have today on the planet. I'm just saying that I think every life is important, and you chalk off so easily a life that just means that it's just not so important. And to me, I tell people very often, because when I'm not on the radio, I am a voice coach. I teach people the voice premises of the business of doing commercials, narration, the art of voice acting, really. And I tell them, I said, you know what? Not one of us is insignificant. We all have a voice if we use it. And you'd be surprised if we do. But when you take one, what does that do? I think it just it limits our potential, largely speaking. I'm very adamant, of course I have a daughter, and she's beautiful, and it changed everything about me. Everybody should have a child, at least one. Adopt one. But it really does. I mean, people were talking today, this morning, it's amazing what people will say on Facebook and all sorts of kinds of things. My aunt, my uncle's wife, yeah, and that's who she is, Sandy. She loves dogs. I guess it was like National Dog Day, National Fun Day for dogs, and she takes care of animals. And how important, if you love a dog, thank a dog or pet a dog or adopt a dog or something like that. And a lot of dogs have become people's kids. They're not raising kids, they're raising animals. I mean, I love a dog, don't get me wrong. But there's a big difference between a human being and a dog. Or some people would disagree, I know. They're awesome. You think about it. It's just food for thought. No matter where you stand, that's where I'm coming from. And, I feel this deeply. And I'm in love with my daughter. What can I say? And I have two stepdaughters. Love them too. Beautiful. And, you mold them. You see pieces of you in them, in their vocabulary, good and bad. The personality, all the things that happen. It's just, to me, it's amazing. And just to say, just because of inconvenience or something bad happened, it wasn't the child's fault, let's just get rid of them. I don't know about that. It's just, it's very hard to stomach. It's very hard for me to wrap my mind around that. And maybe it's because I'm closed-minded. Am I closed-minded? What do you think? All right. Well, anyways, I digress. Here's a story. It's not that I comb the wires looking for bizarre stuff, but occasionally when something like pops out and it says, now this is kind of interesting because people sometimes will go to the ends of the earth to find cures for particular things. And such is the case in Mexico City, where Mexican authorities, they have rescued 14 crocodiles. 14 crocodiles and found 20 others dead in a squatter's settlement, is what they're saying, where people were apparently, you're not going to believe this, they were milking the Crocs. Milking them. Milking, the Crocs for their blood. I'm serious. And you're probably asking why. Well, they're believing that the blood of these Crocs, it's believed to cure HIV and diabetes. If you got diabetes, or as Wilford Brentley used to say, you got diabetes. Remember he do that? It took him off. He's not doing those spots anymore. I don't know if the guy's doing commercials anymore. That guy's got to be like 90-something. I know. Be careful, because I got 90s. I have some people that are like in their 90s still putting roofs up in fly-by country that tell me they do this. I'm serious. I'm not even. Don't make fun of the elderly. Do not do that. It's because someday, if I'm lucky enough. But geez, can you believe that's what folks are doing? They're milking them. Many of these dead Crocs have their heads or tails hacked away. And the Crocs are considered a protected species, by the way, in Mexico. The squatters have set up a settlement in a coastal town of Chiapas, known as a very luxurious place to hunt crocodiles, apparently, for locals there. So you're going to Mexico to milk a croc? Well, it's a big trend, and Mexico's cracking down on it, but they think it's going to cure HIV and diabetes. Of course, I haven't heard anybody weigh in on this to say if it's true or not, but I do know people will go different places to hopefully to find a cure for something, especially if their loved one is suffering from something. So, I mean, they say, don't mock things. I believe in alternative medicines. I think that there's just a limit sometimes of what conventional medicine can do, and sometimes people get lucky. But that sounds a little bit, yeah. Just the technique itself. Very unique. All right, so back to the story that we've been talking about the last several days, and a story that I really wish to God it didn't happen. But this 14-year-old, the 14-year-old that was raped in the bathroom, now the boys has an attorney, okay? And they're pretty much trying to put it on the girl that, this 14-year-old actually brought it on. This is their defense right now, brought it on. And that she pretty much asked for it and it was not a rape. So Tucker Carlson last night talking about these things.
Be honest, would you be comfortable having your 14-year-old girl in class with this guy?
I want nothing but safety for my children, their friends, my family, and everyone in my community.
Right. Well, okay, we all do, but that's not answering the question. This specific guy, your client, would you feel comfortable having a loved one go to school with him?
I don't know him. I literally don't know him.
But, I mean, I think that's something you would think through, since you're going to be arguing in public on behalf of this guy. And so doesn't his character, his capacity or not to do something like this, does that enter into it? Do you think, is this guy guilty or not? Is that a consideration for you?
Everything's a consideration. I'm sure there could be a number of questions asked about all three of the people involved in this.
What would the questions be raised about the 14-year-old girl who says that she was raped in the high school bathroom, and apparently whose screams were heard by her classmates? Man, you better be right about this, because if you're going to be impugning the character of a 14-year-old girl who says she was raped, other people say they heard her screams. I mean, to impugn her character, I mean, you really, before God, better be sure that you're on the right side of this.
Well, I wonder if he slept well last night. I know Tucker Carlson did, though. Some great questions. Tucker is here with us this morning. Good morning, Tucker.
Good morning, Tucker.
Good morning.
Morning. How you doing?
How do you think he handled that last night?
I mean, he's in a tough spot, but I always wonder that about defense lawyers. And by the way, I'm in favor of defense lawyers. I would want one if accused. Not everyone accused is guilty, but I still think there is a human and moral element to this. If you're going to represent somebody, I think it's fair to ask the person representing him, do you feel good about it? And by the way, he said last night that he planned to attack the accuser. Well, okay, that's a common tactic, but she is 14. And there's a lot of circumstantial evidence that she's not making it up. These cases can be complicated. This seems a little less complicated than most. And so I just couldn't resist asking him, Really? You're going to attack a 14-year-old girl who says she was raped midday in a bathroom?
I think that was an excellent. I'm so glad you did that. I was watching last night. I'm like, go, Tucker, go. That's great. As a mother of a little girl.